From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA with breaking news across the board today about your fourth stimulus check and fourth stimulus package. The President of the United States had bipartisan meetings today with Republican leaders about the fourth stimulus package, and this follows yesterday's comments by them. No deal. They're not going to provide the president a penny for climate in a series of other counterproposals after prior counterproposals. Also, they want to reduce the amount of his infrastructure, part of his infrastructure bill. This means only one word: reconciliation. Reconciliation is the incredible great news for you because that's what gives you monthly stimulus checks. In this recording, we go over the breaking, developing details about a new report that says the president wants to raise a lot more taxes than anyone knew before. Not for you, but for certain individuals. And those taxes are not going to get Republican support either. In this recording, we go over all that with new video from the White House answering questions about fourth stimulus just minutes ago, and then new video from the press from the vice president pushing for fourth stimulus. We look at the counteroffers from the Republicans and why Coca-Cola is starting to become a little bit too rich for some. I'll explain why price inflation is starting to pop. And I don't mean pop like that, I mean soda pop. It's a big afternoon's show, and I'm so excited you're joining me. Let's get right to it. Let's get to the details, whether it is fourth stimulus, reoccurring stimulus checks, student loan debt forgiveness, or business grants. I got it covered for you, and this is Afternoons LA. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? It's Monday afternoon here in Santa Monica, and I'm so glad you're joining me for the breaking, developing news about fourth stimulus and financial news across the board. How are you? Had a great weekend? I'm so glad you're joining me. Coming up after this show in 2 hours from now is Evenings LA, and then 2 hours after that is Late Night. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video, and if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. It's a big, jam-packed broadcast tonight. Today, I have details about what happened with those Republicans, what happened with the counterproposals, what's in this new breaking news report that details what may be unfolding on fourth stimulus that'll actually give more reason to go by recon, because Republicans aren't doing this part of the bill either. Also, I'll be going over the timeline, the big amounts of money involved with fourth stimulus, student loan debt forgiveness, business grants, and new videos from the White House. Also, some of those standalone bills you've been asking about as well. Let's get to it, and let's start right now. First, fourth stimulus has three parts in it. And if you've been with me for a couple of weeks, you've seen that we don't have a lot of clarity from the White House about what those three parts are. Part one is infrastructure, part two is climate, and part three is taxes. We haven't heard much about what the infrastructure is. We haven't heard much of what the climate is. We haven't heard much about what the taxes are. Well, today we did. And this is what's happening. The president has made very clear that as to part two, climate, he has to get money for this. Otherwise, there's no deal. Well, 3 weeks ago, Roy Blount, who's the number one transportation Republican in the Senate, said, I'm not giving you any money for climate. I'll do pure infrastructure and pure infrastructure only. The president's press secretary last Friday said, we don't have any counterproposals. Yeah, you do. They said they're not doing climate. And then on Sunday and today, the Republicans came out clear again, which they were not doing climate. And guess what? As to the first section, infrastructure, we're going to try to whittle that down more. It just all means you're getting stimulus checks. Remember, monthly stimulus checks come by reconciliation process. When the bill lands in the House and when it lands in the Senate, those Democrats are going to put those stimulus checks in there monthly. That's what you get. You don't get it from the Republicans because they say they're not giving you a stimulus check, and you don't get it from the president. He's not opposed to it, but he's not putting it in there. What did we learn today? The GOP reaffirmed that they are not doing the president's $2 trillion price tag for stimulus, that they would remove all climate from the stimulus bill. That's a deal breaker for the president. And then as to the infrastructure, they're not even doing the magnitude of his infrastructure. They'll do $600 to $800 million. Well, this means we're going to recon, folks. The president met with bipartisan leaders today, and he'll do it throughout the week. More about that in a second. But ultimately, it's just for optics. We're going to recon. The Senate versus House approach. How does it differ? Let's go over it. The House members want to give you a stimulus check every month for the pandemic, plus 1 year. So if there's 6 months left from the pandemic, well, that's 18 months. 18 months, stimulus check. Senators want to give you a stimulus check from now to December. Now, which one pays you how and how they pay you? First, let me go over who are the players. The House members are progressives. They're junior members of Congress. The senators are senior members of Congress. The senators don't say how much they want to pay you per month, but they want to pay you more than the House members, just quicker. The House members want to pay you a smaller per month check, but pay you more months of it. So if we're looking at the House members, for example, $1,000 for 18 months, that's $18,000. Senators want to pay you less overall, but want to pay you more money up front, faster. Here is what word on the street says. That the senators want to pay either $2,000 a month or $1,400 a month, which would be $8,400 or $12,000 between now and December, July and December. So you see $12,000 in 6 months from senators or $18,000 over 18 months from House members. Slightly different calculations. And who gets this? You. If you make less than $75,000, you. If you're a household of 4 or less, you. And people have been asking, is that amount per person or the whole household? No, this is the amount for just a single person. So if you're a married couple, you double it. If you have a household of 4, you times 4. SSI and SSDI, Social Security and Railroad benefits and veterans benefits. This is for you. And on Noontime LA, I had a great question, which I've answered before, but it was asked an even better way. The viewer asked, but that would trigger my benefits. I would have too much money in the bank account and I would trigger it. I would have problems with benefits. No. Stimulus checks are not taxes, not taxable. They're not income. They are not a taxable event. The federal government could give you $100,000 of stimulus. It's not a taxable event. It's a stimulus check. So it would not trigger any changes to your benefits. Great question across the board. This is the single biggest payout for any single individual ever in the history of this channel. $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, $18,000, depending on whether it's a House or Senate members. This is huge. It's bigger than FPUC retro. It's bigger than $2,400 of SSI. It's nearly 10 times the amount of SSI of $2,400. I mean, it dwarfs the number. It's bigger than also hazard pay and FPUC retro. So the Republicans came out today and yesterday, said, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. Well, away we go to recon, folks. Those Republicans made it very clear they're not doing climate. And it started with John Cornyn, who's Republican out of Texas, who said, we'll do infrastructure and bridges and roads and broadband. I think we can all agree upon that. Yeah, we can. But the problem is you can't agree upon everything else, which is climate. And then came a statement from Shelley Moore Capito, Republican of West Virginia. She said it needs to be about 600, 800 billion. That's not what the president thinks. And then Biden says it's going to get down to getting this done. I'm optimistic. Yeah, well, good luck with that. Roger Wicker, Republican out of Mississippi, says 30% of this bill needs to be infrastructure. The rest, 70% needs to be removed. Oh, boy. Meantime, here is why this week is going to be a very good week of good news for you. One, we've gotten very clear indication Republicans aren't doing this by bipartisanship. Away we go for recon, away we go for stimulus checks. But number two, if it wasn't any easier or clearer, guess what's happening on Thursday and Friday? Climate. Thursday and Friday, the President of the United States is having a climate conference, a conference where he basically talks about climate over and over again. He's going to talk about protection of land and wildlife. and talk about carbon emission reduction target and cooperation climate crisis. Yeah, that's a tongue twister. It says climate enough that Republicans are just saying, no, absolutely not. Give us some lobsters and maybe we'll do lobsters. So away we go to recon. One viewer asked a really great question on Noontime LA. Can the senators who are Democrats modify the House plans for stimulus checks? Yes. So let's go over that because I've not done that sort of walkthrough yet. Let me explain what's at issue. The House members propose to give you monthly stimulus checks in a way that's slightly different than the senators. How would that play out if that did happen? Let me show you how it would play out. First step would be a recon procedural bill. No substance, doesn't say anything about money. It says, do you want to do a recon? House members vote? Yes. Senate members vote? Yes. Then the president sign it. Done. That's a tow truck. Finished over the finish line. It goes back to pick up the tow hitch. Now they start to put in everything the president wants to put in. We want to put in some roads and some bridges and clean water and pipes and internet and, maybe hairdressers for San Francisco and, maybe some lobsters. They throw in some other stuff that perhaps the president didn't ask for because that's what congressional leaders do. And then they get to stimulus checks. Now, let's pause for a second. Those House members, there's a lot of them. There's 100+ House members as of a month ago that demanded a monthly stimulus check. Didn't politely say it. They demanded it. And one of them is House member Omar. House member Omar, in a new article detailed this weekend, is a very close ally of Speaker Pelosi. So will Pelosi put in there the monthly stimulus checks? She doesn't have to. If she doesn't, it doesn't mean much of anything for you because the senators will put it in there. But under this great question one viewer asked this morning, what if they do? What will the senators do with that? Let me show what's going to happen. The House is different than the Senate. The sliding in of stimulus checks at the House level is not a covert, MacGyverous cloak and dagger event like how the senators make the changes. The House members don't do it by cloak and dagger. They do it by subcommittees. So the bill would go to the subcommittee, and at which time, generally Representative Neal, I would presume, head of Ways and Means, would say, you know what, Omar, call me up. Let's do some stimulus checks. Let's put them in there. And you would see the subcommittee's actual PDF, like you saw from the third stimulus, that says, you know what? This is what the Senate House subcommittee is proposing for our part of the fourth stimulus package bill. We're proposing this. You would see it at a subcommittee level before it got to a vote. First time I've ever detailing this because it's a great question from the viewer. So the subcommittee would actually have in writing that you and I would see, that they would publish online the PDF that explains the stimulus check. Then it would go to the floor vote of the House for a complete bill, call for vote, passed, off to the Senate. Now, at that point, the Senate would have before it a total bill that in there has stimulus checks in there. Can the senators modify that or amend it? Absolutely. What if it doesn't have any stimulus checks? What if Pelosi doesn't put a single stimulus check in there? Can the senators put in a stimulus check? Absolutely. Here's what you need to know. I also had a really great question earlier today. A viewer said, when do we see the bill from the senators about the amount of the stimulus check? You don't. It's different than the House members. The senators will not be sending this to a subcommittee. They won't likely be sending this to a subcommittee in the Senate, where the subcommittee will have documents and PDFs and recommendations, and you'll see the modifications. Rather, this is what's going to happen. Far before the tow truck or the tow hitch gets on the highway, those senators who are preparing for these stimulus checks, anything else they want to do, are already writing up amendments. And they're writing up those amendments and showing it to their friends, Liz or Chuck, ahead of time, the friends that they've known for 20-something years. Do you want to do this? Oh, I love it. How many people you got on board for it? I got 30. I got 40. Can we get to 50? Yeah, we absolutely. I spoke to her and him, and they're going to do it. They know who's going to approve it and who's not going to approve it. and they know when Chuck is going to call for a vote. They will not be releasing to you a PDF ahead of the vote. There will not be a copy of the item for you to see in paper form before it's a vote. It is a covert cloak and dagger type situation. You may hear gossip, you may hear conjecture, you may hear someone chatting about it, but that's the totality of it. It'll be called for a vote, damn, done, and out the door. Suddenly you're like, what happened? It just passed. Well, it literally just passed. The reason they want to do this is because there's always someone who wants to do a counterproposal that can undermine their efforts. So it is very cloak and dagger when we're talking about the Senate. A series of videos came out today where the press secretary was answering questions about your fourth stimulus. And I'll have those videos for you as well coming up after this commercial break. Meantime, new news about student loan debt forgiveness, the business grants, and also what's happening with these rent and utilities. Really surprising breaking development details. Stay with me. I'll be back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And join me next on Afternoons LALATE in 2 hours from now. That's, evenings LALATE. This is Afternoons LALATE. Join me on Evenings LALATE in 2 hours from now. That is that hit show you love with the big breaking financial news, stimulus news, and more for the day. That's in about 2 hours from now. And then 2 hours after that is our irreverent, non-informational, humor-only broadcast LA Late Night with Jovita Late and Sirloin. Thank you for joining me on a big afternoon's broadcast. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to reach 400,000 subscribers. We're about 5,000, 6,000 away. It's our 1 year anniversary in just a couple of days, so help us get there. Also, like this video. And if you're not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. And I may be in the live chat. Is that him? It looks like him. I don't recognize him without the scarf. Say hi if you see me in the live chat. Let me get to the other breaking developing details before I cut back to fourth stimulus happening today. Number one, there's a new push to extend the eviction moratorium. Remember, September has a lot of things expiring. Eviction moratorium, mortgage forbearance, FPUC, PUA. There's a lot of things expiring. Will they extend these things? I have been predicting that you're going to see a lot of standalone bills or potential executive orders down to the 11th hour. Yes, on Friday, Ron Wyden introduced to the Senate an extension of PUA under a new program. How would it work? If you're a PUA person, you could get $250 a week, up to 6 months, lifetime, as often as so needed, one time per year. So let's say next year something happens to you, you need assistance. It would pay up to 6 months or $250 a week, which is $6,000. That's $6,000 per year. Meantime, several states have now shouted that they're not getting from the federal government rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, also homeowners utility assistance bills and similar from second stimulus. They're waiting for it still to come from second stimulus. Elsewhere, we've learned that third stimulus money for that same subject is hitting in May. Then over to the businesses, coming up in a second. But first, the student loan debt forgiveness. It was the topic of discussion last night on LA Late Night, as Sir Lloyd said, maybe he ate the memo. But we haven't seen the memo yet from that education secretary. Remember where we were? Over 2 weeks ago, the president instructed his education secretary, Miguel Cardona, to prepare a memo to detail whether the president of the United States can forgive student loan debt by executive order. Elizabeth Warren says he can. She says Obama did it. Trump did it. Hence, Biden can do it. Well, that memo was due last Friday. Where is it? No one has seen it. Unclear. I'll be watching for it. And if you are keen on the issue, tag Warren and Schumer as you have done. Continue to tag them. Say, where is that education secretary's memo about student loan debt forgiveness? It was due last Friday. Then the business grants. Almost a moment for Javita Lake to walk in the room. The shuttered venue grant, that is for things that are shut down, is shut down. Ironic. The shuttered venue grant has not gone live. In fact, it's shuttered. It went live for a second and then shuttered down. Why? They say they're having problems getting it going, getting it open. So, yeah, can't open your business unless you have a grant, and the grant, it can't open either. So they have sent out a memo saying they're working on the computer system. The EIDL grant of $5,000 for new applicants hasn't gone live yet. Oh, just sort of recurring theme here we have. The remainder of the $10,000 grant is being paid to viewers. Congratulations. If you replied in February and have not heard back, there's a vortex. Everyone's stuck. And that's only exclusive to this channel. The invites are coming in no particular order, and then the PPP grant is now live. There's no grant to start a new business as Biden had promised. What a day it's been. And the day started with a series of exchanges with the press secretary about forced stimulus. Some of the exchanges were surprising. In the weekend videos, people were reacting with the following comments to the press secretary when addressing forced stimulus, saying that she was not being responsive to the questions, that her comments were something along the lines of, we have a range of possibilities, circle back with me and I'll get back to you soon. And that range of answers seems to repeat itself. Let's see what she said today during her exchanges about forced stimulus. Was she more detailed or was it vague again?
That needs to happen. We need federal legislation, but that's also something we certainly haven't been encouraging.
One last question domestically, if I may. Is the White House committed to including the $400 billion for elder care in the AJP package?
Great question. This is a really, really great question. AJP is the American Jobs Plan, the forced stimulus. He's asking, is the president adamant to maintain he wants to provide elder care and senior care in the forced stimulus package? Is the president adamant to hold his ground to keep it in there, even though Republicans say it's not infrastructure, which it isn't? Let's hear the response to that question.
The caregiving proposal we have in there, obviously we believe that that is important, imperative, and that will help address what we see as a caregiving crisis in our country, where 2 million women have left.
So far, not answering the question. The question is the president going to demand that it stays in the bill when negotiating with the Republicans? So far has not answered the question, but said the virtues of the provision.
The workforce, a lot of those women have done so because they are in what many call the sandwich generation, where you're caring for elders and you're also caring for children. Also, the caregivers themselves are only being paid about an average of $11 an hour. That's completely unacceptable. That's why we proposed that in that package. There will be a range of views. There are a lot of members who are absolutely
a range of views. So the question was, would the president keep it in there or would he modify it or take it out? The response again is there's a range of views. Not particularly responsive again to the question.
For that and adamant that it should be included. There are some who don't feel that way, so we'll have the conversation. More of those are happening this week, and we'll go from there.
Then she finally answers he's not adamant to keep it in there. Very helpful at that point. Let's see another exchange from that same press briefing today when asked further questions about the forced stimulus, what her response was.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hey, Jen, just a couple on the jobs bill and the climate summit. Senator Cornyn and Senator Kean spoke about the possibility for a smaller, narrower infrastructure bill.
He just said, although it's hard to hear with his face mask on, he said Cornyn and Coons talked about a smaller bill. Let me read you Cornyn's comment, Republican at Texas. There's a core infrastructure bill we could pass with appropriate pay-fors for roads, bridges, and broadband. I think we could agree upon that. That's the part we should do. So he basically, Cornyn says, I'm not doing climate, I'll do infrastructure. Then Coons, I detailed on Friday, he said, let's split this up into two more bills, which is just ridiculous. And the press secretary previously said, we're not doing that, but let's listen to this exchange again.
In the range of $800 billion. Does the president see that as a viable alternative to what he's proposed? And then how does he view this idea that there might be an opportunity to get some kind of bipartisan agreement on infrastructure before you move on to the care economy? That if you could do it in the near term, as Senator Coons suggested, that that'd be the way to go.
So here is basically a Temple of Doom type question. If everyone agrees upon infrastructure, why not do infrastructure? And why not separate out the part that no one agrees to and do the part that no one agrees to at a later time? We heard that in 2020, where people says, no, the part that doesn't agree upon will never get done. We're not going to do that. Let me show you more of the graphic of what he's referring to. He's referring to taking a $2 trillion bill and switching it to a $600 trillion bill, and then hoping to pass everything else at a later date. It is a suggestion that the White House has previously rejected. Let's see the answer to the question.
Well, there are a range of ideas and proposals out there.
And there's a range of ideas and proposals out there.
Some Senator Coons, Senator Manchin, some Republican senators, and some Democrats who may be more on the progressive wing of the party as well. And our objective at this point in time is to hear and listen to all of those and to determine what the path forward may look like in coordination and cooperation. The president's bottom line here is that the only thing we cannot do is fail to invest in our nation's infrastructure, rebuild our economy, and create millions of jobs.
So there she's saying there's a range of possibilities. She leaves out what the president also said, which is we have to do climate. He says that not doing climate is not an option.
That's the only piece he does not want to see us fail to do as a country and fail to do as hopefully in a bipartisan manner, ideally. But in terms of the ideas being put forward, we're quite open to a range of mechanisms for agreed upon legislation moving forward. Smaller packages, pieces being peeled off. Right now, there's the nitty-gritty work going on in Congress where members are meeting, staffs are meeting, committee staff are meeting to discuss what's possible, where there's agreement. We welcome that. But, in terms of what the package or size looks like, we're just not quite there yet.
Sure. We're not quite there yet. I think you sort of have to get quite there soon. That last sentence could make people squeamish. It certainly makes me squeamish. We're not quite there yet. Let's look at the calendar. Bill has to be done by reconciliation by July 4th. Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi said the bill will be voted on July 4th. Even the press secretary said the bill will be voted on July 4th. Reconciliation is a 2-month process. You got just a couple of weeks until we're up on that 2-month deadline. So you have to sort of figure out what you're going to put in the fourth stimulus package. A new report came out today from Politico, which I detailed earlier today on the channel, which says that the White House has not even figured out which taxes it wants to use. And it causes concerns if they are stalling, if they are not rushing, and that the range of ideas needs to be roped in, cattled in, herded in. The new report from Politico says the administration is working on a range of ideas. It's looking at increasing the top corporate tax rate, eliminating the so-called step-up basis of death, removing taxable gains on ordinary income, and a lot of other things. Interesting. Let's also watch a new video from the vice president talking about the virtues of forced stimulus, which at this point, no one has a problem with infrastructure, but the White House continues to roll out videos telling us how wonderful infrastructure is, something that we all agree upon.
Plan. It will not only create good jobs, it will have a big impact on communities. It will have a big impact on people's quality of life at home.
And there you go. It is not particularly clear why the messaging remains a little bit off point. We all understand infrastructure is great, and yet every day the White House releases another video saying infrastructure needs help. We all know that infrastructure needs help. We want to provide money for infrastructure. Republicans and Democrats, everyone wants to provide money for infrastructure. The issue is climate. The issue is getting the bill to a finality, and the issue is how much work have you done? How much work have you done? We're up on that 2-month deadline coming up soon. And when you hear that they're still looking at a range of ideas and we're still waiting to hear from people, friends of sisters or brothers in the Congress, it's time to get going. Purple Power. Viewers, this channel, Purple Power, do your thing. Push, push, push. You know that there's nothing worse than lazy congressional leaders. As you have been with this channel for a while, you saw it happen last July. They went on vacation. Their vacation was a bigger priority than getting your second stimulus solved, and they let FPUC and other things expire. Don't let it happen again. Don't let it happen again. Push Purple Power, hashtag MSC, hashtag Purple Power. Get this bill to a finality and get it out the door. Let's look again at the graphic that defines where we are. If they got this done in July, then stimulus checks would go out July to December. If they don't get this in July, we slide into September because they're literally gone almost every 10 seconds between July and September on vacations. Don't want this to roll to September. With that, I hope you've been informed and updated to the T. Whether it is business grants, student loan debt forgiveness, or the $1,700 of college aid, which reach out to your financial advisor, mortgage, rent, and utilities, the $3,600 for children, and the $10,200. We're still waiting for IRS advisory about that. There's a lot of news, and I'll have more for you, of course, because I'm back in 2 hours from now. Evenings LA returns in 2 hours from now, so join me for the continuation of our programming schedule. In 2 hours from now is Evenings LA at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then is Late Nights, our Reverend Laugh-A-Minute non-informational video. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, keep on smiling, and stay with LA for more.